Hello and welcome. Welcome to today's video where we're going to be talking about what to do when your self-love path is leading you to a place where you feel like you can no longer do what you need to do for yourself to keep yourself safe and to keep yourself going in our system. Because the more you're starting to actually connect with your feelings and connect with your emotions and connect with what's actually going on with you, the more you're realizing that the systems and the ways of being and what we have to do to keep up and to survive in our world feel terrible, feel like self-abandonment, feel like, we're just constantly in a state of self-abuse by going along with what we have to do and what we have to be in the system. And that leading us to a place of like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I sustain this path of self-love where I'm honoring myself and I'm honoring what I need and I'm honoring what feels good to me, but also at the same time am able to keep up with and do all of these things that I have to do to survive that feel very self-abandoning and self-abusing and going along with a system that abuses me and all of these things. And this is something that I think is really, really, really important to talk about, because the reality is that yes, we live in a world, we live in systems, we live in a general way of being that is not fundamentally supportive of the human experience and what we need to thrive and feel good. This is the kind of crux of how the self-love path helps us, because again, the reality is the world we're living in is absolutely not set up so that all of us can just be in our bliss and do what feels good and do what we love doing and honor our true selves, and at the same time have safety and security and provision and resources and community and all of these things that we need in order to be safe and in order to be well. And that contrast is really painful and really uncomfortable when we experience it. And so that's what I want to speak to today, because again, it is a reality. So this is like a big part of what we talk about in the mystery school, and in all of my work, really, like my YouTube videos, my blogs, everything for free, everything paid, everything that I do in my coaching sessions. It's all about this balancing act of how do we find the middle ground where we are able to be supportive of ourselves within a system that isn't inherently set up to support us. And again, this is why I think the self-love path is so valuable and so different from the other spiritual modalities, because most other spiritual modalities are selling us kind of one of two lies. Number one, they're either selling us that if you fully love yourself and if you fully accept yourself and if you fully understand yourself and you get to know yourself and you get all radically honest about what you need and what you want and you follow your bliss and you find what you love and you do all of this stuff, life is going to be amazing for you, right? That if you find your passion and you find your purpose and you figure out who you are and you honor that all of us are going to just step into this magical, the universe provides for you and everything is on your side to support you. And you will be abundant and you will have 1 million friends and $1 million and everything in your life will be fantastic. They're telling you that the more aligned with yourself you are, the more aligned you are with your positivity, the more aligned you are in general, the more you're in your vortex, the universe has your back, and therefore you will get everything you want and everything you need by honoring yourself. That's the first side of things. So they're telling you that if you are not experiencing that, right? If you are trying to love yourself and trying to honor yourself and trying to be honest with yourself about who you are and what you need, and your life isn't magically all falling into place, that you don't know yourself enough yet. that you're not being truly honest with yourself. You haven't actually stepped into your purpose. You're not being totally authentic, that there's something you're missing on your self-awareness path that's blocking the universe from being able to give you abundance. Okay, so that's the first side. Or the second side is people say that you should be able to just be happy and be fulfilled and find the positive anywhere. That you should be able to manage your emotions and manage your internal world enough that no matter what your circumstances are, you can feel amazing. You can feel bliss, and you can feel balanced, and you can feel at peace, and you can have what you need and what you want because you've got your mindset right and you're positively focused. So if you're struggling or if you're suffering, it's because you're not spiritual enough, you're not transcendent enough, you're not doing the internal work enough to make it so that you can tolerate anything and be positive, right? So those are the kind of two self-help, spiritual, whatever. And then, of course, there's the third kind of like really hardcore self-help of just like, well, work harder, right? Like the kind of unabashedly just pure toxic capitalism that comes in and says, if you're not happy, if you don't have what you need, if you don't have what you want, you just need to work harder. You need to try more. You need to literally like get a side hustle or produce more or become more competitive in the marketplace or like find your niche, and then whatever it is, like there's still the kind of like more production and more consumption are always the answer. So if you're not happy, produce more, work harder, find a different job, do more of that job, and hopefully that will mean that you will have enough money that you can feel good, right? And again, the big blaring kind of underlying understanding of all of this, of all of these three theories, is number one, that as in the understanding the myth of all of these three, that is the underpinning of the thinking that leads to these things being a philosophy and why it doesn't actually work, is because they're operating under the fundamental assumption that, number one, our systems are capable or are set up to be fair and just and equitable for all people. They're operating under the assumption that anybody and any amount, any skill, anything that you are going to decide is your purpose and your passion and that fulfills you is something that can fit into capitalism, is something that will absolutely fit into our systems of capitalism in a way that is valued by society enough that you're going to be given enough money to be safe and get your needs met. It's operating under the fundamental assumption that every single one of us has some sort of internal purpose. And what we mean by purpose is a thing that you can offer to the capitalist system in terms of labor that is going to be valued by the marketplace to an extent that you have enough money to meet your needs. That's the underlying assumption. Everyone can figure out something they love doing for work that will be valued enough by the system that you will have enough money. That's the fundamental assumption. So therefore, if you aren't making a lot of money, or if you're doing something you don't love doing, there's something wrong with you. You're failing. You're failing the system. Because the system is set up that everyone should be able to do that. That's the fundamental assumption. The second fundamental assumption, is that we can be fulfilled by what we produce. That having a job that you love is equal to feeling good in your life. That having work that you love doing means that you're going to feel satisfied and you're going to feel fulfilled and you're going to be happy, and that's the answer for all of us. Okay? And it's working from this fundamental assumption that freedom is defined by labor you enjoy. So you have a job that you love doing, and that labor then gives you the capacity to have enough capital to be safe, because the real reality is, in our world, you do need money to be safe. In our capitalist structure, if you don't have enough money, if you don't have enough resource, you are not going to be fundamentally safe. You are not going to be fundamentally okay. There's absolutely a such thing as not having enough in our system, and that leading to a place where your basic human needs are not being met. And we need to understand fundamentally what that does to us. Okay, when we are in a state of constant, actual physical and mental, emotional threat because we don't have what we need, that stress really does something to our brains and to our bodies. So we don't want to pretend and act like you can just be okay with not having legitimately enough in this system, or just as a human, because we can't. That's not a thing. We're not here to try to transcend our physical survival needs. We're not going to. Okay, so that's very important to understand. That in this life, we really can have not enough, and that having that not enough really is traumatizing. And it affects the way that we think, and it affects the way that we perceive, and it affects the way that we behave, and it is a serious thing. Okay? But again, we're being taught that freedom is having so much money that you are then able to have all of your basic needs met. And then you're free to spend your money on a whole bunch of other things. That's what freedom is. Enough money to be able to consume whatever you want to consume. To be able to have whatever experience you want to be able to have because you can pay for it. Yeah? So we're being told that the whole human experience can be very easily boiled down into finding a job that you like, a labor that fulfills you, and that labor should then turn into enough money that you have the freedom to buy whatever you want, to have whatever experience you want. Yeah? Like, that's really what we're being sold with most spirituality, most self-help, most self-improvement. It's really just capitalism with crystals and feathers and sage, right? We're all being told that if you just figure your true self out, you do enough inner healing work, you get rid of all your trauma, you clear your ancestral history, you do all these spiritual things, you're gonna get to a place where you can function in the system in a way that leads to you doing something you love, and that you can do it for a short enough period of time that you have lots of time left over to spend the excess money you have on whatever you want. And that's winning the game. That's success. That's fulfillment. That's happiness. That's what we should all be striving for. Right? That's what we're being told. So then when some of us come on this actual self-love path, this path where we're actually getting to know ourselves, we're actually getting to know what feels good and what doesn't feel good, we're actively working to deprogram ourselves and decondition ourselves from the culture that tells us that fulfillment comes from having a job you love that makes enough money that you can afford to buy whatever you want, and that's a reasonable system, we start to deprogram ourselves from that. We start to decondition from that. We start to decondition from the shame and the guilt, okay? Because this is how they get us to be in this system without questioning it. The way that we all operate within this system, and we don't see it for what I just said that it is because we are convinced, again, over and over and over again, that if we don't have enough, if we're not happy in our jobs, if we're not making enough money, right? If the job that we're doing isn't valued by society and we don't make enough money, the whole thing comes down to you need to fix yourself. You need to improve yourself. You need to make yourself more valuable. You need to change the way that you behave. You need to change the way that you do things. You need to fix you so that you will fit in better to the system. That's always the bottom line. That's always what culture is going to tell us. That if you aren't happy and if you aren't fulfilled, it's because you aren't producing enough or you aren't consuming enough. You don't fit in. People don't like you. It all comes down to you not being what the system expects you to be enough. And so we have shame and we have guilt and we have blame, and we are constantly in these spirals and cycles of feeling like we are inadequate and we are not enough and we are not good enough and we are failing. And that's what keeps us stuck in these loops where we continue to feed into the system and to try to fix ourselves and abandon ourselves and be different and do better within the system. Yeah? Because again, we are not taking a step back and asking ourselves if the system is functional, if the system is healthy, if what the system is telling us is true. All we know is that if I'm in pain, I'm doing something wrong. I'm failing. I am inadequate. I'm not good enough. I need to pull myself up by my bootstraps. I need to take more responsibility for myself. I need to do better. I need to try harder. If I don't have a partner that I love, if I don't have the right body, if I don't have the right job, if I'm not good enough, it's because I am failing. There's something wrong with me. There's something broken with me, right? And then a lot of us get caught in being in that spiral of always healing and always striving and always going for sessions and therapy and coaching and because what's wrong with me, right? And then we get anxious and we get depressed and we get all of these things, and then we're diagnosed as not being able to cope and get on with things. And again, that's seen as a you problem. You need to fix that. You need to learn to regulate. You need to do all these things. And again, I'm not against therapy. Anyway, I'm not against learning to regulate. I'm not saying that that is always bad. Not at all. That is usually very good. But again, if we're going in with the idea that how we're reacting and responding to life is the problem, that it's the anxiety that's the problem, it's the depression that's the problem, it's the negative emotions that's the problem, it's us not being able to get along and go along that's the problem, that's when we're entering into any healing modality with the false perception, right? So the way that we are tricked into continually perpetuating this instead of questioning it is that we are continually shamed and blamed and guilted into feeling like the only reason we don't have success and the only reason we're not happy is because we are failing on some level, right? When again, the real reality is our system is absolutely not set up so that every single person can find their purpose and their passion and make enough money to be safe. That's just the bottom line of it. Our system is not set up so that every single person can find their passion, can have a thing that they can offer to the capitalist society, yeah, that also makes them enough money to not only just be safe, but also to be abundant in terms of being able to buy whatever you want and to have time freedom. and to pay people to do the things that you don't want to do and all of this stuff. The reality is that our system is not set up so that everyone can have that. Our system is set up so that the very few can have that at the expense of everyone else. Our system is set up so that the low wages of people who work for corporations like Amazon and McDonald's and these huge companies, so like these massive companies that are employing huge swaths of the population, these massive companies that are employing huge swaths of the population have to pay their workers less than a living wage in order to make the profits that they are making at the top of the company. The corporations that run our world have not created a system where everyone can find their passion and work that passion and then have their needs met. Most people are going to have to work a job that they don't love because those are the jobs that are available. Okay, so this to unpack this, we have to look again deeply at the whole thing. Number one, in order for our society to continue to function how it is, we need people working at Amazon. We need people working at, grocery stores. We need people who are janitors and street cleaners and garbage collectors. We need people who are teachers and nurses who are working jobs that are likely not going to be these people's absolute soul's calling passion. Because in order for society to function, we need people working these jobs. Yes? So that's the first flaw in the logic. That anyone can find their passion and work that passion. No, they can't. Not if we want to keep society going the way that it is. I don't know that we have enough people who are passionate about customer service, that enough people would do customer service because they're passionate about it and that's their dream job and that's them being connected to their true nature and that's what they want to do. However, we probably have enough people. Okay, so then the second thing, that this assumption that everyone has this deep passion that is something to do with production. That is also false. This idea that everyone should be able to find their purpose in life via some labor that they are deeply passionate about is not a universal experience. And someone needs to frickin' say it. There are so many people out there, like people like me, who say look, I found a job that I love. I could do this all day, every day, forever because I really actually just love doing this. And it would be so easy for me to project that and say, if you're not happy in your job and your life or whatever, you need to find your passion. But the reality is, not everyone has one. Not everyone has a passion that fits into the capitalist system. Not everyone has a passion that is labor. This is the reality that we need to face. Not all human beings are going to have a passion that, number one, is labor at all, or number two, fits into our capitalist system as something that we value. There are many people out there who have a passion for painting or cooking or parenting or gardening. And that's never going to earn them enough money in our system. It's just not going to be valued. Like, you love painting, it's not going to be a thing that a whole bunch of other people really love. Like, you love it. It's your thing. And the reality is, it doesn't matter how good you get at it, how much you practice, it's just never going to be enough to sustain you in our system. Raising children is never going to make you money. That could be like your soul's calling. And it's just never going to be something that our society says, we're going to pay you $100,000 a year to be a mom, or to be a dad, or to be a child rearer. That's just the reality of it. Our system does not equally value all labor. There's no rule that says if you're following your passion, that your labor is going to be valued by society. That is untrue. And then again, there are lots and lots and lots of people who are not deeply passionate about any labor. They don't have a thing that they love doing that fulfills them. There are many, 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 many people who are living very valid, true, normal human lives who don't have a passion that's labor. They enjoy reading books, they enjoy playing games, they enjoy hanging out with their friends, they enjoy hiking in nature, they enjoy being alive. Their passion isn't some specific thing. Their fulfillment and their purpose in life isn't labor, isn't a specific thing anywhere at all. And these people are made to feel like they're missing something, or they're broken, or they don't know themselves, because you should have a passion. And that passion should be labor. And if you don't have that, there's something wrong with you. That's false. There's no rule that says that every human has a purpose and a passion that is also labor and fits into our system. Not true. And then again, next thing. Not every job is valued equally in our system. Then how to love working on soul project. This is what I'm going to get to. Okay? I'm going to get there. But we got to kind of unpack it first. So again, right? Understanding that our systems, right here, right now, again, are not set up so that everyone doing what they love to do would equal everyone having enough money. There's no rule that says because you're living your passion and doing what you love that you're going to earn enough money. That's absolutely not true. Because again, let's think about this, right? The wealthiest people on the planet are not the people who are living their passion. Bottom line. That's not true. That's not why people are rich. People are not rich because they're following their bliss. People are rich because they figured out what works in the system. They figured out how to be owners of means of production. They figured out how to control what people need in order to live. The resources that we need to live, and being in control of those resources means you get to decide how they're produced, how they're consumed, how they're distributed, and where the profits go. That is how the richest people in the world get rich. Okay? This whole spiritual idea that everyone who is rich because they're living their life purpose and the universe is blessing them is bullshit. Because that is not why Jeff Bezos is freaking rich. He's not following his passion. He figured out how to hack the system. Right? Let's be honest. Okay, And then again, at the end of the day, we don't have room for everyone to like have a soul calling and to follow that and then have society continue to function. Because like I said, I don't think I want to apply that production knowledge coming from soul. So again, right? Like 1 second. We have to see if we even want to question that. I heartily thank you for responding. Yeah, because we need to check to make sure our mindset is actually in alignment with reality with that. Okay, so 1 sec. Again, we need people working jobs that are not going to be passionate, life-fulfilling jobs in order for society to continue to function. There's no way that society can continue to function without janitors and people who work the till and people who work at fast food restaurants and people who distribute our food and people who do these menial, unskilled, and I'm putting that in quotes if you're listening to this, labor, because that labor has to get done. That labor has to get done. There's no way right now of working that out of the system. And we wouldn't want to necessarily. What actually needs to change in our system is that we need, again, this is the actual solution, equitable pay. Reasonable amounts of exchange of money for time and labor for these jobs that people have to do for society to run. We don't need more people finding their purpose and passion in labor. We need more corporations, more companies, more of the people who are employing the people to pay people fairly, to give people a living wage, so that they can work their job that isn't their passion, that isn't their absolute greatest desire, but that this doesn't have to be soul-sucking, and it doesn't have to be something that ruins the rest of our lives, because it provides us with enough so that outside of work we can do the things we want to do and experience the things we want to experience and have a good time doing that. So with this question, I want to apply this production knowledge coming from the soul. Sometimes the answer is that trying to fit your thing that you love doing into the capitalist model is always going to feel soul-sucking for you. This is part of the self-love path that no one wants to hear sometimes. You do not have to try to monetize everything. That message of figure out what you love and then figure out how to turn it into a job is how we sell our humanity to the system. That is what that is. That's capitalism saying, I want to take even more of you. That's not necessarily a spiritual teaching. That's not necessarily a truly self-help teaching. A lot of the time, that is toxic capitalism dressed up in crystals and fairies and sparkle dust, right? Telling you that if you figure out how to make that thing you love doing into a job, you'll never work a day in your life. Number one, that's freaking a lie. I do something that I love doing. And it is hard sometimes. There are days I don't want to do it. There are lots of days I am not passionate about this. But it's worth it for me in the overall. But for a lot of us, it isn't. Turning the thing we love into a job ruins it. It takes the fun out of it. It takes the joy out of it. It puts all this pressure on it because now you have to turn it into something that other people like. Now you have to turn it into something that other people approve of. Now you have to take what is your soul's calling and you have to make it marketable. And like I say, our culture doesn't necessarily value what has actual value. Your offering might be incredibly lovely and awesome and true in terms of like real reality value. And very few people are going to like it because it doesn't look right, it doesn't sound right, it doesn't fit in with our culture that's quick fix and self-help and this is going to change your life, and you don't look beautiful, and you don't look hot, and you don't look rich. Right? Like, most of the people who do the work that I do, who are big and famous, they don't look like me. They don't sound like me. Right? They have sound bites. They look rich, and they look hot, and they look beautiful. And they oversimplify everything, and they go into the gray. And this is part of why that they're successful. They tell lies. They compromise the message. They water it down. They make it sound like if you just fulfill your passion, you'll have $1 million. And so lots and lots of people buy into that. And then there's people like me being like, that's not true. You can find your passion and maybe no one will care. Maybe I should handle disappointment feeling more. And this is the thing. That is true. So this is the point of the video now, right? Getting back to like, how do we take care of ourselves within the realities of our system? So understanding that, again, the reality of our system is just because you find your passion doesn't mean it's going to make you rich. Turning the thing that you love doing into a job doesn't necessarily mean it's going to fulfill you. It might actually just ruin that thing you love. And there's no rule that says it'll make you a lot of money. We need people to do jobs that are going to be no one's passion in order for society to continue to function. And like I said, our system is not set up to equitably and equally support and nourish and keep everyone equally safe if you're just doing the right work. That's not reality. So all of this self-help, sparkle, whatever, it's founded on ideas that have nothing to do with real reality. And that's why, for so many people who go into the spirituality, self-help, personal growth world, continue to just end up with more shame and more guilt and more, I must be doing something wrong. Instead of being able to take a step back and say, no, this doesn't feel good for me. This doesn't make sense. This isn't real. And what do I do with that? So when you actually get on the self-love path, you will come to this question that is the foundation of this video, which is, how do I take care of myself when I start to realize that to truly honor myself means I don't know how to keep up in this system that's constantly asking me to abandon myself? Because that's the reality that most of us are going to come to. When we actually get honest with ourselves about who we are, what we want, what we need, what feels good for us, we're going to realize this system ain't it. Living in this system isn't it. Because the system is not set up to support us in that way. So what do we do? How do we navigate that? Okay, well, number one, the first thing is basically what this person just said. Maybe I should handle disappointment feeling more. We are going to have to realize that we're going to be disappointed. And I know that sounds like, how is that a solution? But learning how to emotionally process the losing of the promise that if we just fixed ourselves enough, that if we just healed ourselves enough, if we just spiritualized ourselves enough, that we would find our perfect passion and find our perfect calling, and that would equal $1 million. We have to process the feeling of losing that. Right? This is what keeps most of us on the continual, perpetual self-help, self-improvement, spirituality bandwagon, where we're always willing to buy the next book and the next product and follow the next influencer and try the next positive thinking thing and blame ourselves and try again and blame ourselves and try again, because we want to hold on to the hope that what they're saying is true. We want that promise that they're giving us to be real. We don't want to look at the alternative, which is that what they're saying isn't true and what that then means about what we have to do for ourselves. So that first step is let yourself grieve the loss of that dream. Let yourself grieve the loss of the idea that the system is set up to support everyone perfectly if you just find your passion and work your passion. And that is hard to do. Letting ourselves be upset about a thing we really should be upset about. Letting ourselves process the emotional reality of that. It's hard, but we have to do it. Okay, so that first step in figuring out how do we balance this, the first step is we have to emotionally process. We can't skip that step. We have to let ourselves cry. We have to let ourselves be angry. We have to let ourselves be disappointed. We let ourselves blame other people and blame the system and just not be in that state of constant self-infliction, guilt, shame, and blame. Because if we don't let ourselves process that, if we don't let ourselves go through the process of processing those emotions, we're not going to come out the other side being able to adequately, reasonably take reasonable steps. Okay? So process. Stop gaslighting yourself. And again, you don't gaslight yourself on purpose. Telling yourself that you should try harder and you should do more and you should figure out what your purpose and your passion is. And if you do, you will figure everything out. And if you're not having that, it's because you blame, right? That blame and shame and guilt that we all carry. That gaslighting that you're telling yourself. I should be able to do better and feel better in this system. And the fact that I'm not is because of me and because I am broken. We tell ourselves that because we've been trained to tell ourselves that. And again, the promise of that means if it's just something broken about me, that's an easy fix. I can fix myself because I'm in control of myself. Right? The biggest reason we want to hold on to shame and blame. It's my fault. There's something wrong with me. Is because if that's true, most of us perceive that we're in control of ourselves. So if the problem is me, that's hope that I can fix it. If the problem is systemic, if the problem is bigger than me, if the problem is in the collective, I don't have complete control over that. I'm not able to necessarily change all that and make it perfect. So we don't want to believe in that. We don't want to hear that. This is again why self-help, spirituality, personal growth, navel-gazing is so popular. This is why that message of like, you just need to try harder. You just need to be more honest with yourself. You need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, right? Like the tough love spiritual people who are like, you're just in bad relationships because you are not choosing to love yourself. Here's your tough love. You can have anything you want, and you are the only thing holding you back. We want to hear that. Because how great would that be? If every problem was just a problem with us, it would be so easy for all of us to build perfect lives. If we were actually the only thing standing in our own way at all times, in all places, then yeah. Right? But when we hear, yeah, for some of us, you're not going to find a passion that you love that pays you $1 million. It's just never going to happen for you. You're not having success because you suck or because there's something failing in you. It's because that thing that you do is never going to be valued by society. And that's just reality. We don't want to hear that. Because even though that might be more true, it's like, well, then what? Now what do I do? That's not very hopeful. So we got to process. We got to be willing to step into the adult perspective that says not everything is about me. Not everything is because of me. Not everything is in my control. We don't live in a world where the universe is simply only giving each and every individual exactly what is a match to their vibration. I don't think Jeff Bezos is a billionaire because he's got like super high vibes. Again, right? If this was true, if the law of attraction were the way that people teach it is, then yeah, like the people at the top of the system would be the most benevolent, loving, like actually beneficial to society people. That's not reality. That's absolutely not true. We know that for a fact that that's not true. And yet we still want to believe it. That we're all just getting what we are putting out. No, we're not. That's ridiculous. The child who was born into a world where they were, their caregivers were addicted to drugs, and they're addicted to drugs in the womb, and then they're separated from their family, and then they have learning disabilities. They didn't frickin' manifest that by having low vibes. Like, we have to stop with this. And again, I get it, right? We want to believe it because it makes us feel like we have control. But it's not reality. Okay, then the next step. We process that, and then we come to our adult perspective of asking ourselves, where can I reasonably do what I need to do to reasonably get my needs met in this system without overdoing it? Okay, so this is where we start to just look practically. Because a lot of the time, there are steps we can take to not have to do everything the system is telling us to do. There are things that we can check out of, right? Like even social engagements, trying to follow fashion trends. Like there are a lot of things that we can check out of that will be okay. So we start to deconstruct. What do I actually need to participate in to keep myself going? And what are the things that are literally just draining and sucking my soul that I actually would be okay not to do? So when we get on this self-love path, we realize we're probably not going to be able to make life perfect for ourselves. We're probably not going to be able to make it everything we want it to be. But we can first start taking ourselves back from the system by disengaging from things we really don't actually need to be doing. And most of us are going to be able to figure out that we do have some of that stuff. We don't need to keep up with fashion. We don't need to keep up with celebrity gossip. We don't need to participate in every company function so that people will love us. We don't have to keep doing absolutely everything at home and asking for no help from our partners or our friends or our spouses. You see, there are going to be things that all of us can say, okay, I can let that go a little bit. So where are the things in your life that you really can not participate in? Like even the idea that you can stop trying to make the thing you love doing into a job. And you can just keep that for yourself. Just let that be something that you have that's nourishing and life-giving for you, that you don't give to the system. What if you gave yourself permission to not try to turn that thing that you love doing into a job? Would it be possible that the job that you do would stop being so painful if you knew it was something that was supporting your ability to do the things you like to do without having to turn them into a job? Because for some of us, that's going to be the reality. We're going to work a job, we're going to do a thing we don't necessarily love doing, and then we just have to look at it as this is my exchange so that I can do the things I do want to do on my time when I'm not working. And we stop trying to sell our entire soul to capitalism. We keep some things for ourselves. What parts of you can you take back from the system? What parts of you can you take back from the system? Where can you take more of your time? That's not time that you have to be at work or in life maintenance. That you can nourish yourself and not give it to the system. That's the next steps. Stop giving to the system what you don't have to give. Stop trying to turn everything that you do into a job. Again, unless you really feel passionate about turning that thing into a job, understand that once you turn it into a job, it's no longer your passion. Now it's a thing you have to fit into capitalism. And do you really want to do that? Or do you want to let your job be something that supports you in doing something that you love exactly how you want to do it without having to compromise it? Okay? And yeah, sometimes this means we spend less of our time paying attention to politics. This is what this person says. I want to go out of politics more. Right? Like taking yourself back from paying attention to every little thing that's going on. Every drama, everything that's meant to just stir up. So again, this isn't about being uninformed or not listening or not knowing what's going on, generally speaking. But we don't need to be in every little detail. Because a lot of it is just there to excite and to stimulate and to make us afraid so that we'll keep watching, so that when advertisers advertise to us, we're in that state of fear and we're going to consume more than we need to consume. Where can you take yourself back from the system? And then again, really allowing yourself to dream, or to allowing yourself to be upset about the fact that a lot of us have to work jobs we don't love working, that don't pay us enough, and then we have to spend a lot of time doing life maintenance to keep up with life. And that is the reality for a lot of us. There isn't necessarily a way of making it easier and making it better. And rather than blaming ourselves, and rather than shaming ourselves, and rather than trying to turn everything that we might like doing into a job and all of this, we first need to just be upset that that's the reality. And be upset that our spiritual teachers told us that we should be able to get out of this. Because this is the thing. So many people who have nannies and who have maids and who have employees that they pay $7 an hour because they're from the Philippines are sitting up there in their ivory tower telling other people, you can manifest the life of your dreams just like me. If you're just more responsible with your time and meditate more and do all this stuff. And they're like, not in the reality of people who have 2 kids. They're single moms with 2 kids who has to work 2 jobs and does not have time for that shit. It is not your fault. You are not the problem. I want to tell you that right here, right now. It is not your fault and you are not the problem. And what you need to do is let yourself be upset. You need to let yourself be upset. You need to fully own and accept that this is not your fault. You didn't create this system. You are doing the best that you can. And that literally the reason that people are rich and abundant and wealthy is because people like you aren't. That's how they get there. They don't pay you enough so that they can go on their 40th vacation this year, on their 80th yacht. And you need to let yourself be upset about that. And stop blaming yourself. And then again, take back the parts of you that you can from the system. And understanding that not doing what you need to do to meet your needs isn't self-loving. Right? Like, to give up on yourself isn't the self-love path any more than being in the la-la land of I can find my passion and it will make me $1 million is self-loving. So again, you let yourself be upset. You figure out what the bare minimum is. For some of us, that's what we need to do next. We need to get rid of and eliminate things we don't actually need and we don't actually want, that the system is telling us we need and we want, so that we have more room in our lives for the things that we actually like doing. And then, to the best of your ability, you nourish yourself outside of the system. You find real connections with real people that you actually like. And don't force yourself to be in relationships with people where it's fake and phony and shitty. Let yourself scroll on your phone. Let yourself journal and cry and take some time for yourself every day, as much as you can. And the world will tell you that it's selfish, and the world will tell you that it's not, you shouldn't be doing that, especially if you have children. But to the best of your ability, do it. Understanding that, yeah, for some of us, life is going to be about doing what we need to do and then recovering. And so we make it safe for ourselves to recover as much as we can from doing what we have to do in the system. We don't do any more than we need to do. We don't offer any more than we need to offer. We don't go above and beyond for the system anymore. We take our humanity back. We get upset where we need to get upset. And then we nourish ourselves and support ourselves in our off time as much as we can, taking back the time that we can take back. And again, this isn't going to make your life perfect. I am not offering perfect solutions because there aren't perfect solutions right now. We need more people who are in the middle. So this is what I would want to say too. If you're in the middle, you have enough right now, you're doing pretty good, it's up to us to not consume more. We are the ones that have to start taking the power away from corporations by no longer striving to be richer and more successful and more abundant in the system. The people in the middle who have enough, it's up to us to say, enough is enough. I'm not going to keep consuming. I'm not going to keep producing. I don't need to become a millionaire. I don't need to level up my business. I don't need to scale anymore. I don't need more money. I don't need more houses. I don't need a bigger car. I don't need these things. Because the more of us that do that, this is how we're going to start to shift the system. When we find our enough, and we stop taking more than we actually need, we disempower the corporations. The reason that they continue to have profit over profit over profit every quarter is because we keep buying. We keep buying in. We keep producing more, and we keep consuming more than we actually need. We stay blind to the exploitation that is required for all of that to happen, and we perpetuate it. We need to stop perpetuating it. If you have enough, stay there. Stop listening to the spiritual people who tell you that it is spiritual to be rich. It is not. It is absolutely not. The only way to get rich in our system is to exploit. And you may not feel like you're directly exploiting because you can't see it. Hiring that $7 assistant from the Philippines is not making the world a better place. being involved in fast fashion and wearing in the new outfit every day is making the world a worse place. Buying that second car, buying the bigger house is making the world a worse place. The universe doesn't want you to have that. That's not true. Any more than the universe wants Jeff Bezos to fly into space on a rocket. We have to come to terms with the fact that if we're in the middle, we need to take ourselves back from this too. You are not here to just produce and consume. Freedom is not having enough money to consume whatever you want. That's a denial and a rejection of our humanity. So if you're in the middle and you're exhausted by keeping up with fashion and you're exhausted by trying to make yourself richer and more and keeping up, good, stop. If your self-love path is helping you realize that you can't keep up with that, good, stop. You don't have to. And your life is going to be better if you don't. Figure out who and what you are outside of consumption and production. Figure out what you like doing and what you like connecting to and what you like engaging in that doesn't contribute to a corporation. That isn't more production. What do you like doing that isn't work? Don't turn another one of your passions into a product. What would happen if you started to take your humanity back from the system? This is huge. The people who are in the middle, who have enough, we have so much power to shift this if we deprogram ourselves from this garbage. And again, that's what the whole mystery school is about. No, it's not about finding your passion so that you can just keep getting richer and richer and richer every year. Find your enough and then stop. Literally stop. Don't contribute to charity by getting richer. No. That's taking from people and then turning around and giving it back a little bit. That's not helpful overall in changing the system. If you want to be momentarily helpful, yes, of course, we want to give to charity. And of course, we want to help people who are helping people. But long term, what is your impact of your day-to-day life? That is so much more important. Where is exploitation required for you to have more than you need? And again, it's not about being as minimal as possible. You can still have things you enjoy and you can still have nice things. But where can you stop? Where can you find your enough and not keep going? Where do you not need more? And look at the people who are telling you that more makes them happy and realize that they are never satisfied. The people who are marketing to you that find your abundance and look at how abundant I am and look at how rich I am and look at how happy and fulfilling it is, they seem to always need more and always want more, and it's never enough. Because it isn't. It's never going to be enough. You are not going to find your humanity in the system. So give to the system just as much as is possible or necessary to survive and to have enough and to be comfortable, and then don't do anymore. See what happens when you start to take yourself back from it. That's what we want to do on the self-love path. If you can't keep up and you're in the middle, don't. You don't have to. Stop doing it. Really, stop. Listen to that voice. And then, come to the mystery school. Do the work you need to do to unpack your internalized capitalism. If you don't have enough, take back for yourself as much as you can. Don't give any more than you actually can. Be upset. Let yourself be upset. Don't listen to anyone who tells you that it's your fault, because it isn't. And then support yourself in the best ways that you can. and demand change. Because change needs to happen. And like I say, so if we're in the middle and we have enough, stop. Do it for everyone who doesn't have enough. Stop participating in this system that necessitates people not having enough so that other people can have way more than they need. Because that's really what's happening. Stop participating. Okay? Okay. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you for being here. I hope this was helpful. Leave questions, comments, concerns down below. And I'll see you next week.